South Africa were completely dominant on day three of the second test against Zimbabwe. We dominated with the ball, and it's very important for us to know that we can be so dominant against teams that we are supposed to be dominant against. And this test series did what I feel was needed. We needed to be able to identify our talent pool and grow our talent pool and know exactly which players are the players that are next in line or knocking on the door or putting pressure on that first 11 that Coach Shukri always selects. So I think as a whole, this particular test series did its job. We got to see newbies, we got to see youngsters, we got to see players that we might not have been sure of, put in performances that we can be proud of. And overall, I think that it was dominant enough for us to say, we came, we saw, we conquered, as cliche as it sounds. So today we're going to be discussing this particular match, what happened on day three, and then I'm going to read out some of your comments. I'm also, maybe this time, I will go through the CSA nominations for the Cricket South Africa Awards as well. If we get a little bit of time to do so, I will get to that. But before we get going, before we get started, there's a couple of things I'd like you guys to please do. First, subscribe to the channel, click that notification bell for all future videos, please. Smash the like button, comment and share. And don't forget to comment on the video after we've ended the stream. You guys have been excellent with that, and our videos are really spreading in the YouTube algorithm because of it. So thanks a lot for doing so. I'd also like you guys to please download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to inbox every month. The link is on the screen right now as well as in the description. So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Looking forward to discussing this with you guys. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your review show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is the show where we discuss everything that happened on day three of the second test between South Africa and Zimbabwe. Day three. We completely dominated today. It's plain and simple to say that because South Africa were in complete control throughout this particular match. And there were only some portions in this match that we might have did slip a little bit, but that's natural for a team to find runs somewhere ultimately. But what took place in this match was quite spectacular, and I'm going to go through it with you guys. Obviously, you know that they were 51 for 1 before the start of the play, and they were trailing by 405 runs, Zimbabwe. But they were quite composed early on. They actually survived the first half an hour of the match, and I thought that we might maybe get an early wicket, but it took 30 minutes for us to actually get a wicket, and I thought maybe our seamers would do it, but it was Senator Mutasami who did it. He dismissed Caetano with a chip to cover after reaching 40, and he was a little thorn in South Africa's side, but Zimbabwe was 64 for 2 at that point. But then Zimbabwe did have a little bit of a recovery, I would say, but not too much. They only added another 99 runs because Zimbabwe got over the 100-run mark. But it was Mulder that knocked over Sean Williams' off stump for 11. He completely bowled him. It was brilliant to see that. And Sean Williams is very dangerous, so he's been brilliant throughout this test match. So it was very important for that wicket to fall. Then the next, Nick Welsh batted really well today. He brought up a measured 104 ball half century. A solid partnership started to grow between him and the captain, Craig Irvine. and they went into lunch in a decent position at 143 for three. But after lunch, Zimbabwe went past the 150 run mark. But then Mutasami came back into the mix again and took his second wicket, whilst edging to slip after a well measured 55. Cody Yusuf worked hard the entire day, toiling away, bowling those lines and links that we know he can bowl, consistently putting those balls in the good positions, in challenging positions for the batters, cramping them for space, cramping them for freedom outside off. He really was bowling excellently, wicket to wicket, also to to fourth slip, etc. He was angling the ball very nicely as well, bowling like you should on this wicket, very composed and consistent. And he bowled 13 overs before getting a wicket. He dismissed Wesley Madevere, LBW, and Zumwa 166 for 5 at this point. And then he struck again in his 16th over, dismissing Tsiga, who popped the ball straight to mid wicket. Zimbabwe were now 177 for 6, and it was really starting to look like South Africa were going to win this one. Evan batted superbly, but only got South Africa to 182 when Bosch got 2 wickets in the 65th over. He nicked off Irvine to the keeper and then sent Kundai Matagimu's off stump flying. It was a beautiful delivery from Corbin Bosch, showing his ruthlessness that we know he has in him. He's supposed to be the bowler that is going to be the enforcer for South Africa with his pace, but I've been very, very impressed with the way Corbin Bosch has bowled line and length throughout this test match. He's been very consistent. Only now and again did he bowl a loosener down the leg side, but majority of the time he's been hitting his shorter deliveries, bowling at the stumps, bowling batters, cramping them for space, forcing them to play, getting the outside edge. All of those things he did correctly. And it's not only those periods when he took wickets, it's the periods where he didn't take wickets that were the most impressive to me, because he was bowling very good lines and lengths. And that was something that I was calling for throughout his career so far. The one thing that has been uh, a, a, a little bit of I would say, a criticism from my part when it came to Corbin Bosch was his consistency, and you saw it often in in domestic cricket. He would bowl very quickly, but not bowl with that accuracy, and often not then take as many wickets as he could. And I think this Test match, I don't know what work he's been doing, but he was really accurate throughout this Test match, bowling good lines and it's consistently doing that. And Irvine went out for 49, and then um, Zimbabwe were 183 for 8 at that point, and then Bosch made it 184 for 9 when he forced Blessing Mazarubani to edge to third slip, and that was his fourth wicket. 4 for 38 in the end for Corbin Bosch. Mutasami then wrapped things up with a wicket of Shivanga, and South Africa won by an innings and 236 runs. Mutasami got 3 for 77, Yusuf 2 for 38, and Mulder 1 for 24. So overall, a brilliant performance by South Africa. As you can see, dominant, and we win the series 2-0. So exactly what we were hoping for, exactly what we predicted from a South African standpoint. We all thought that South Africa was going to be dominant in this match. And it's good to see when you believe that and then you actually see the team deliver. Zimbabwe's batting today was, throughout this test match wasn't up to scratch, particularly the opening batters. They never really performed at the level that they would have hoped for, and they couldn't get starts and partnerships going. There was always one maybe player that performed, like for example Shaun Williams, but other than that, they couldn't build partnerships, especially at the top of the order. They put themselves on the back foot too often, too soon, and that was their downfall throughout the series because they couldn't build partnerships. South Africa, yes, they've had heroes in every single innings, but not only was it the heroes that stood out, it was the partners that stood at the wicket with him, batting through their innings with him. That was also very, very key, because if South Africa only had one player scoring runs and then everybody just falling like flies, those type of things would be put South Africa under a lot of pressure. So it's really, really good to see that we were dominant. Bat, ball, field, we were really good. I think the captaincy today was also very good. The way Vian Mulder predicted certain things to happen and wickets to fall, setting up his field for that, noticing that the batters might be making a mistake soon. So then obviously putting his players in the correct positions on the field to enforce that, and then his bowlers bowling to that plan. So overall, I'm happy about this victory, and I think South Africa deserve it, of course, and it's a good test for South Africa. Not only test, but I think it's a good um, position for South Africa to find themselves in, and I think it's also was great for Coach Shukri to be able to see who are his players now that are knocking on the door. He's now, I feel, he's got options. He's got options to decide where he's going to play, who he's going to play where, who he can pick for which conditions. Obviously, we're going to be playing in the subcontinent soon. So it's good to know that his spinners are good and accurate. And I was very impressed with Subrayan actually over Mutasami, to be honest with you. I thought that Subrayan was very accurate with his deliveries and changed up his pace quite nicely, but bowled very accurately, consistently on the spot. And I was really impressed by him, and I feel that he could be a player that we could bring into the side with Keshav Maharaj. But Senaran Mutasami obviously took wickets. He played a more of a risky type of game. So I was also happy with his performance, but he put a lot out there for Zimbabwe to chase. So that's why he obviously automatically, inevitably would have gone for runs because he exposed himself ultimately. So he allowed them to have a go at him, and obviously as a result, they would lose their wickets by playing shots that they maybe shouldn't have, or not keeping their heads and then scanning the ball or edging the ball to precarious positions on the field. So skewing the balls to all over the place. So yeah, I'm ultimately happy and satisfied with what we saw, and I think we got out of this test series what we actually set out to get. So overall, I'm happy. Okay, let's get into the live chat. Craig says clinical performance from the boys. Hope Zimbabwe can take lots of learnings from this series and give New Zealand more of a challenge at the end of the month. I want Zimbabwe cricket to be strong. I want them to be able to improve. I want them to learn from the lessons. I want them to improve their skills, improve their talent pool, because a good Zimbabwe is good for cricket. And if Zimbabwe can start performing exceptionally well and get into World Test Championships, etc., it will just increase the competition and just make Test cricket a lot more entertaining because you have another team that is also performing well. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get up to that level. They don't have the same funds that the rest of the world has, and they don't have the talent pool that the rest of the world has, and the infrastructure as well. So I'm hoping that they learn from this, but I do also hope that they can improve their um, their cricket over for the next years. Shad says Mulder should have scored 500. Dex says Zimmers were awful. Wilbur says 367 runs, 3 wickets, and 3 catches. This has to be one of the best all round performances in a test match. Yes, I think that 100, hands down, Vian Mulder should be player of the series because he performed well throughout this test series. Chaos says, I see Cody Yusuf's in the main 11 going forward. I can also see him in the main 11 going forward, especially with the amount of problems we have in the bowling attacks. Our pace bowlers always tend to be injured. So to have someone like Cody Yusuf in the mix and waiting to get a chance is always handy to have. Wilbur says this series is another reason we need a two-tier system. Zimbabwe, Ireland, and Afghanistan must play more in order to get better. Drubbings like this do nothing for Zimbabwe. I read up more on the two-tier system and I can see how it can work, but it's going to be based off of rankings, which I don't think is okay. It's fair, but I guess it's fair because then you in the tier based on where you are ranked. So you play like for like, I guess, and then you end up meeting one of the top guys later on in the tournament. So I would mix it up, you know. I would mix up the groups a bit. So maybe number one and number three in one tier, and then two and four in the other tier, and then bold and then fill it out with the rest of the people, like for example, like that. Chaos is Mulder next in line for captaincy after Temba's retirement. It's either him or Aiden Markram, because I know Aiden Markram is currently vice captain. Play with captain says, I think Vian Mulder starting to hit his straps. Yeah, Mulder was always very talented, and we've been covering Mulder's career or following his career for a very long time. And also, we've done a couple of interviews with him and exclusive stories in our digital magazine as well on Vian Mulder and his mindset and the way he thinks and his potential and all of that. Because Vian Mulder, since he was a school kid, I remember covering his Kaya Majola week and watching him play as an 18-year-old boy. Um, and I know he batted for three for Saints and bowled as well, but not as much as he's bowling for the Proteas. And I don't know if you guys know the story of Vian Mulder, but people were speaking about him as being the next Cullis because he batted at number three for his school and for his province at Kaya Majola week. So everybody knew him as a batter bowler, a batter who could bowl. And he was being named the next Cullis for quite some time. And if you know his career, he went straight from school basically into the Lions setup. That's how talented he was at schoolboy level. And the Lions introduced him into the setup very, very early. In fact, there's a story that Jeffrey Tiana speaks about seeing Vian Mulder walk into the changing room with his school uniform on. So, and seeing this boy in a school uniform sitting in the changing room when he was still around in the coaching staff. So it's crazy. But then what happened after that is he started playing domestic cricket, etc., and he was doing all right and doing okay. But then he was bowling in the nets, and Otis Gibson, when he was still the coach of South Africa, liked Vian Mulder's bowling action and decided to pick him as a bowler for South Africa. And I think what happened is, knowing Vian Mulder's character at the time, he, as you can see, is very humble, and he does take coaches' opinions seriously. And wherever he can improve and do something for the team, he's very selfless when it comes to making those decisions, or unselfish. So he decided to work on his bowling, and he decided to be that person, and he started bowling for South Africa first. And I felt that at that point in time I was a bit worried, because I thought that his batting was going to suffer as a regard, because I know how he puts 100% effort in when he does focuses on a discipline. So, and he really overthinks things as well. He overthinks all the technical details, etc. Watches tapes over and over again, and analyst tapes of his batting or his bowling, whatever, over and over and over again, to see where he makes mistakes and where he can improve, etc. So it was very interesting to see that from a South African standpoint. And yeah, I do believe that South Africa, I mean, that Vian Mulder should have been um, it should have been made. They should have made sure that he focused on his batting as well. Contact to it like yeah. So Vian Mulder, I'm so happy that he's now progressed and he's grown. And Coach Shukri obviously knew him from school days, so that would have obviously um, guided Coach Shukri in making the decision, to play him as a number three, because a lot of people didn't understand that that's his history. You know that. And probably when he was in the academy, when Coach Shukri was head of academy, He probably I just want to. Why is this not sending? In the meantime, let me just read some more of your comments. Um, Chaos says your brain has overspun just like Lion. Play with captain says Mulder should bat at 3 in all formats for SA. He is capable of much bigger performances than this. Hussein says cricket will definitely pay Vian back. In my Mutasami was awful. I don't think he will make the squad for Pakistan, says Dex. He shouldn't have surpassed Amla's 311, and records are meant to be broken. I also think at the time when he was at 311, maybe he said that he didn't know that he was passing 311, which Pulayo is a road, yes. How did Zimbabwe get out so quickly? Good bowling from South Africa. The wicket wasn't as easy today as it was on day one. So that also plays a part in it. Save to and then save it to the desktop and then see if it will pop up on my desktop. That will help a lot. Let me just check quickly, guys. I'm sorry that I'm doing this while it's live, but we just got it. We got the press conference now. I need to find a way now to if it works. How do I Trying to see now. How do I? Can I do it that way? I'm trying to think now how I can play this. Normally, I was gonna see if this. I know why. Uh, sorry, people. Info A. I must convert it. Yo, this is a mission. I wish they could make this a lot easier for us, honestly. Make it so hard for us to like cover things. Um, yeah, so let me read some more of your comments. Your internet is bad, Sistabo. I'm sorry about that. I can't help that at the moment. I've reset and restarted everything. Um, is it better now? Just let me know. Sorry if it's lagging. I've tried to reset the modem and everything earlier on so that it can be fine now. But sometimes it's going to do that for some reason. I don't know why. And I've got fast internet in my in over here in my room, so it's weird that it's doing that because it should be working pretty damn fast. But I don't understand why it's lagging. I think it's because there's other people on the server as well um, doing work and also streaming and also having meetings on Teams and stuff at the same time. So it's probably causing a lot of havoc. And also, I'm doing a lot of things at once here, but that's not an excuse. I'm sorry for that, guys. Um, what the actual hell is going on here? Open. Ay, 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 ay. You know what? I have to do this the hard way. And I didn't want to do it this way because it takes ages for me to load this bloody app. So there it is, it's playing. It's playing, it's fine. I just need to find it now. Good. I should be able to just do this like I want to. Just like there. There we go. Finally. Gee whiz, why was that such a bloody mission? Fuck. Sorry for my language. Okay, let's go. Let's listen to Coach Shukri's presser. I think that's important that we listen to that, of course, and we can comment on it and do it live together so that we can both, I mean, all of both, that we all can understand together what's going on and what he thinks and etc. Okay, let's go.
What impressed you about the way the players performed in this series?
I think the important and the
Can you guys
impressive
hear
thing
that?
for me was how we managed to keep the standards as high as we set them. Both the first test and the second test, batting first. We found ourselves in a little bit of trouble against the new ball, and then how the youngsters, Luandre and Brevi, managed that in the first test, and the same in the second. We found ourselves in trouble, and then Vian played a monumental knock. And then on the bowling front, just the disciplines we were able to maintain throughout, and constantly keep the Zimbabwean batters under pressure. That for me was really, really impressive. And then obviously the catching yet again is something that we attach a high value to it, and the way we in the field we were really, really good as well. So that was particularly impressive for me.
Great.
Yeah, so I think we're all happy with that. We're all happy with the standard that we set, the fielding, the way we performed as a unit, etc. I think everybody can say together that we agree with Coach Shukri over there, and we all feel the same sentiments.
Next, where does Luandre fit in with so many middle order options? Did he put himself in your plans for the subcontinent test later this year?
Lose a special talent without wanting to jump the gun. I think it's hard to ignore what he's done here. So he's definitely in the discussion for the subcontinent later.
Wow, that's a big statement from Coach Shukri already saying Luandre Pretorius. He's going to be in the discussions and he's going to be in the talks with regards to the subcontinent. So he impressed Coach Shukri on this tour. So that's good to hear, that open honesty and transparency from Coach Shukri right off the bat here.
And then what improvements has Cody made since that SAA series last year with Sri Lanka?
I mean, you can see Cody. You can see the value of a really good domestic season. You can see the value of a short stint with Durham in the counties setup. He's a completely, well, it's not say completely, but it's certainly a lot more disciplined. Really good skill set and hugely impressive. Again, and we talk of gaining a measure of control. He certainly gives you that with a new ball, and he set the tone for us. Yeah, so I think he's made huge strides since the last time I saw him playing for the South African A side against Sri Lanka, and he's certainly put his name in the mix as well for future tours.
Now, what does
So Coach Shukri is saying everything that we want him to say currently. This is all that we spoke about. So he's answering the questions for us. I mean, I gave my opinions on the matter before, but now we get Coach Shukri actually telling us exactly what he's thinking about some of these players.
Vian's declaration say about him as a cricketer?
Says everything about Vian. I know there's so much been said about it, and what do we normally say? We don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. All I asked Bessie yesterday, and he came up, what are your thoughts are? And he said to me, I think we need to bowl. And I said, what about the record? He said, I'm fine. Let's keep that for the greats. And that says everything about Vian. It says everything about how he wants to play his cricket and how he wants to be remembered. And yeah, I respect that and I buy into that. We always talk about being the best versions of yourself, and that is certainly the best version of Vian. And I'm thrilled that he was able to turn in a performance like he did with the bat. And yeah, obviously the declaration. It's one of those, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, So nothing I say will change that. But yeah, this is all about Vian Mulder and what a performance has been for South Africa. It wasn't long ago when people weren't quite sure whether he should even be in the side or batting at number 3. And it's amazing how the conversations have changed now. So I'm really thrilled for Vian. And I'm sure Vian is a really happy man now as well.
One last one.
So over there, we can hear Coach Shukri speaking about that incident with Vian Mulder. Not incident, but the decision for Vian Mulder to declare, sorry. And it sounds over here that this was Vian's decision as a whole. Yes, Coach Shukri asked him, what about the record, etc. But Vian said, no, you can leave that for legends. So Vian Mulder made that decision wholeheartedly. So we need to respect it then.
Before we open up to the floor, were the openers you gave a chance to hear disappointing?
I think they'll be disappointed in the numbers they put out. It wasn't easy against the new ball, especially that first test match. But and I've said this plenty of times before, when the conditions are tough and the bowlers are executing, we must be able to do tough as well, and we need to do tough better. So I think as a top order, they'd be hugely disappointed. Especially, I mean, a guy like Tony who's missed out in the final, come back in, and he definitely have wanted to put in a big performance. The same with Bredo. Lesego on debut. Yeah. So, yeah, to answer the question, I think they would be disappointed, yes.
Yeah, so at the moment, it's unfortunate because that opening positions are kind of have been our problems for quite some time since Dean Alger retired, really. And Aiden Markram in and out of form. Ryan Rickleton performed well and then not so well. And then Tony DeZorzi performed well at first and then not so well. And now we've had this mixed performances from our openers in this matches as well. So there might be a slight issue over there when it comes to our opening batters and when it comes to form. But we can't deny that we have strength and depth in those positions regardless. We just need to get them on form and firing.
Larry?
Coach, there's a lot of talk, like for example, from the different captains who sort of come here about your intensity as a coach. How does this translate to the teams, to the players that come to the team?
I think we try and keep it nice and relaxed. We've obviously got standards that we operate at, but the big thing for us is that we want to allow the player to be who he is and play like he plays, and try and make improvements on that rather than based on what we feel needs to happen. So I'd like to think that the introduction of some of the younger players, I'd like to think that that introduction has gone seamlessly, and I'd like to think that they felt a real part of this series win, which they obviously have given their performances. And I'd like to think they had a really good taste of what playing for the Proteas are about, and hopefully that taste lingers with them for a very long time.
Now, that is a key thing that Coach Shukri said right there. Very key. They don't want to be changing players into what they think they should be like. Now, this is something that I've spoken about for many years on this channel now, where I said that there was talk about us playing an attacking brand of cricket and making and teaching players how to play that style. I said no, because South Africans naturally play an attacking brand of cricket. That's just how it is. If you watch our domestic cricket and 4-day cricket, we naturally play an adaptable type of game. And that has a lot to do with the fact, with the different wickets that we have in the country. You have to play differently on different wickets. South Africans have generally learned how to adapt their game pretty well. It's the problem is that we don't get the extreme of those conditions. And also we don't have the quality of bowlers consistently throughout our domestic scene that can exploit those conditions to the best of to the best of its ability or to the best of what it has to offer. So naturally, yes, we create players that are naturally adaptable and are naturally attacking. But the key factor over here is if a player comes into the mix, instead of trying to turn him into something that is not and turn him into a player that plays a certain way, allow him to become the best version of himself. That is so key over here in what Coach Shukri says. And I think that's like the highlight of this entire press conference for me. That's the mentality that he's dealing with and operating with. He's not trying to change players. He's trying to improve them and allow them to play the way they want to play. Because if you do that, it's a very smart coaching tactic. Because ultimately you're allowing that person to do what they want to do and just helping them do it better. So the player will never feel like you're telling them or forcing them to do something. It feels like it's coming from them, that they're making the decision themselves, and you just giving them the best tools and the best guidance to help them get to that.
In the last three matches, including the World Test Championship, you've worked with three different captains. How do you translate your messages between all three of them?
I think the messages are universal. They know that what we stand for. Obviously, everybody knows that Temba is the captain, and it's unfortunate. I mean, Temba was here for a couple of days. He obviously really missed out, and he'd love to have been here. But yeah, the messaging is the same. We don't change our messaging. The captains know how we want to operate. The players know what's expected of them. So it doesn't really matter who we hand the armband to. Um, I think the messaging will always stay, quite stock standard.
Any further questions?
Just one more for me. Come back to local. One player was impressed. A lot of people played here. Sean Williams. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, Willow's still a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player, and I know he was feeling under the weather the last couple of days. I don't want to see him when he's fit and healthy. But obviously, Sean's been a great ambassador for West Indies, Zimbabwean cricket, um, and he continues to show why he's still a top player, you know. And we obviously knew that his wicket was always going to be a big wicket for us, um, and he made sure that it was. You know, he's no surprise that he still performs the way he performs. He's still a top player.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, so that's that. That's the press conference. I think we got to hear everything that we wanted to hear there. It confirmed some of our questions and our suspicions on certain things. And I'm happy with what I heard from that perspective. So we've now reviewed and ended the review show, guys, of this particular match. Just before I go, I just want to quickly just share with you guys an article that was released today as well. And that was on the nominations for the CSA Awards. So, as you know, the CSA Awards will be on the 31st of July. This ceremony is going to be broadcasted live on Supersport at 7. We'll celebrate the defining moments and outstanding contributions that shaped the past seasons, led by players and match officials who displayed excellence on the field. Blah, 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 blah. Let me just get straight into the list because that's most important. So match officials: Lubabalo Uma, Arno Jacobs, Aludin Palika, Abdullah Steenkamp for umpires of the year. CSI umpire of the year, umpire of the year, sorry. Then CSI umpire of the year, Lubabala Uma, Stephen Harris, Arno Jacobs, and Aludin Palika. Domestic cricket categories: Division 1 Coach of the Year, Richard Das Neves for Multiplied Titans, Russell Domingo for Lions, Justin Ontong for Gold Rush Poland. I think Russell will probably win that. Division 2 Coach of the Year, Ahmed Amla, Tumelo Bodibe from Border Cricket, Amla's from Tuskers. Mbasa Kadushe, he is Mpumalanga Rhinos. Domestic Newcomer of the Year, Matthew de Villiers, Dufferbet Warriors, Dion Forrester Knights, CJ King, Dufferbet Warriors. T20 Challenge Players of the Year, Junaid Dawood for DP Lions. Interesting. George Linder from Western Province. Kwena Mapaka for the Lions and Edward Moore for Western Province. T20 Knockout Player of the Season, Ziad Abrams for the Tuskers. Christopher Brits from the Eastern Storm and Thomas Carber for Six Gun Grill Garden Route Badges or SWD. Division 1 One Day Cup Player of the Season, Deva Brevis for the Titans, Prinalin Zubrayan for the Dolphins, John Smuts for the Dolphins. Division 2 is Jerome Bossa, Eastern Cape Ianti, Sean Gilson from Express Tuskers, and Peko Molitsani from the Badgers. Division 1 4-day Domestic Cricketer of the Year or Player of the Season, Deva Brevis, Titans, Bjorn Fortuin, Lions, Luandre Pretorius, Titans. So you can see that the selections have been almost aligned with the awards over here, almost like the players that are being highlighted as the top players this season for awards have also now been selected in South Africa's setup, you know. Division 2 4-day Domestic Series Player of the Season, Jade de Klerk for Eastern Cape, Michael Erlang for Express Tuskers, and Ernest Kim for Northern Cape Heat. Then the women's domestic categories. Women's Division 1 Coach of the Year is Sean Pretorius, DB Lions, Angelique Tai, Hollywood Bets Dolphins, and Claire de Blanche from Western Province. Women's Division 1 T20 Player of the Season, Tasman Brits for the Lions, Kayla Reinecker for the Western Province, and Tane van Niekerk from Western Province. That's an interesting one. Women's Division 1 Day Player of the Season, Sune Lewis for the Titans, Rasibe Ntozake is DP World Lions, Homotso Rapu is DP World Lions, and Sunit Fulyun, DP World Lions. It's a 20 categories. There's no nominations for this with regards to players. But you get Betway SA20 Rising Star of the Season, Betway SA20 Batter of the Season, Betway SA20 Bowler of the Season, and Betway SA20 Player of the Season. International categories. International Men's Newcomer of the Year is Othniel Bartman, Corbin Bosch, Matthew Bretsky, Quena Mapaka. Men's T20 International Player of the Year, Othniel Bartman, Quentin de Kock, Riza Hendricks, Andrich Nokia, and Tristan Stubbs. It's weird that Quentin de Kock is still getting a nomination. Men's One Day International Player of the Year. Oh, yes, but okay, I understand. He did well in the World Cup. Men's One Day International Player of the Year, Annie Klaassen, Ryan Rickleton, and Lazard Williams. Men's Test Player of the Year, Temba Bavuma, Kesha Maharaj, Kahiso Rabada, Ryan Rickleton, Calvin Reina. SA Men's Player of the Year, Temba Bavuma, Marco Janssen, Kesha Maharaj, Ryan Rickleton, and Kahiso Rabada. And then Women's International categories, Women's T20 International Player of the Year, Annika Bosch, Tasman Brits, Marazan Cup, Nonkululeko Mhlaba, Laura Wolfhard, Women's One Day International Player of the Year, Annelie Dirksen, Marazan Cup, Nonkululeko Mhlaba, Chloe Tryon, and Laura Wolfhard. And then SA Women's Player of the Year, basically the same, Annelie Dirksen as previous. Annelie Dirksen again, Marazan Cup, Nonkululeko Mhlaba, and Laura Wolfhard. And then other categories, men's best delivery fueled by KFC. Nandre Berger to Mikael Lewis, West Indies versus South Africa second test, 15th of August, 15 to the 17th of August. Marco Janssen to Dinesh Chandamal, SA versus Sri Lanka first test, 27th to the 30th of November. Kagiso Rabada to Mashfiqa Rahim, Bangladesh SA first test. Kagiso Rabada to Saimia Ayub, SA versus Pakistan first test, 26 to 29 December. Then women's best delivery fueled by KFC, Ayanda Nglubi to Sophie Eccleston, SA versus England in the test, 15 to 17 December. Masabala class, Harleen Diol to SA versus India, Tri-Series, 7th of May. Nonkululeko Mhlaba to Ryan McDonald Gay, SA versus England test, 15 to 17 December. Nonkululeko Mhlaba again to Sabana Mostray, ICC Women's T20 World Cup, 12 October. Then SA's Fans Player of the Year. They should ask us for this, actually, to give our nominations. Temba Bavuma, Annelie Dirksen, Karabo Meso, Nonkululeko Mhlaba, Tristan Stubbs, and Carl Verena. And then special awards to Mackay and Teeny Power of Cricket. These are the special awards that they don't have nominations for. So Mackay and Teeny Power of Cricket Award, Saka Most Valuable Men's Player of the Year, and Saka Most Valuable Women's Player of the Year, Domestic Men's Players Player of the Season, Domestic Women's Players Player of the Season, Men's Players Player of the Year, International Women's Newcomer of the Year, and Women's Players Player of the Year. So they're obviously going big after we won the World Test Championship final and made so many finals, etc. the last year. So yeah, it's going to be a decent awards, I think, when it comes to that. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the end of the show, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in and being loyal throughout this test series. We will be back again for the Tri-Series again, doing previews, and then a preview for the entire Tri-Series, because I can't do a preview before every single game. I don't think that's going to be possible with short breaks in between. I don't think it's going to be valuable, because who's going to watch them? I mean, you guys will watch it live, and then it's just going to be dead on the channel. So I think I'll do a preview and then reviews. And the review shows will probably be almost a preview as well for the next game. We'll look ahead, because it's only like a day in between games, etc. So thanks a lot for everybody for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell for all future videos. Smash the like button, comment, and share. And don't forget to comment in the comment section below after we've ended the stream. And also subscribe to Cricket Fanatics Magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. So thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in on this early live show. Stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening and the rest of your week until I see you guys again. Peace out, everyone.